So I had been, altogether I was in the monastery for 6 years, from the time I graduated high school onward. So this makes it at about 1969. And it's time for what's called final vows. I was a member of the order already under what's called temporary vows for 3 years. And then you take final vows, only they have to pass on you first and say whether they will let you to do that. Well, in that last year, it was in Union City, New Jersey, leading up to this final vow time. Into the monastery came actually somebody who had been a Lutheran minister who converted to Catholicism, and he was considering joining the order and becoming a Catholic priest. But because he was still not a member of the order, he had his own money and he had his own car. And we were right across the river from New York City. Union City, New Jersey is right across the river. So we became friends. And we would go on many weekends, maybe even almost every weekend, one evening. We would drive into Greenwich Village and drink, of course, and have supper, usually at a restaurant called Fedora's, which I think still exists. Fedora is famous in the village as a restaurateur and it being a gay restaurant. I, again, of course, at that time, didn't particularly have a concept of this, all right? So this is going on. It's really annoying the hell out of my teachers, all right? Because I would, on a number of occasions, I would get to class late, that first class in the morning, or maybe even doze off in class. And then I, got decent marks. All right, so I think that probably annoyed them even more, that this was true. So it comes up to the end of that year, and it's time for them. They have a meeting, the faculty and the high honchos of the order have a meeting as to who they are or not going to allow to take final vows. So I get called in at some point to the director of students' office to be informed that no, they're not going to let me take final vows, which of course means you're out of here, is what that usually would mean. I was pretty stunned because I had no idea why, and they don't tell you why. They just say this is the decision. You've been blackballed. We're not going to let you do this. And I thought about it for a while, and I said, well, why don't you let me take a year's temporary vows again for another year? Try to do it this way. And they agreed to that. So I went down as a summer project. Myself and a few others were going down to this house in Philadelphia, and we were going to get real jobs and see what the real world was like. And so I did that. And so after I was there a few weeks or a month, I said, no, I'm quitting. Kind of a you can't fire me, I quit. A number of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, my monastery classmates started having reunions every few years. Well, there are two people in that class who are still in the order. They've been up in the various offices, of that, at various degrees of authority within the order, and have seen all the records. So one of my classmates, I said to him one day, I said, I don't know why, was it alcohol, was it the gayness, what was it that they made them say no? And he told me he had seen the records and essentially had noticed my homosexuality before I did. And he also told me that when they were saying no to me and about to totally throw me out, he and a few others stood up for me and threatened also not to take final vows if they didn't allow me to do so. And of course the compromise was to go for temporary vows, and then I quit. My monastic life gave me some very good things, and on the other hand, it was really, to use modern terminology, a really, really dysfunctional family at the same time. And so it's a sifting out of what good I took from it. Certainly my sense of ritual, my sense of spirituality is partially from there. It is no longer anti-sexual, but it is partly there. So that whole period remains an important period, training period, if you will, an important period in my life of finding out who I was.